Have you ever noticed you're not really living in the present, but just drifting through anxious thoughts in your head? Not because something terrible is happening, but because your mind keeps replaying the past, imagining the future, and trying to control everything. You keep waiting for that one day when everything will finally settle down and peace will come. But somehow, that day never arrives. In Buddhist teachings, there's a truth that is both simple and profound. Peace isn't waiting for you in the future. It's already here in the moment you stop worrying. The moment you let go of trying to control what you cannot, you finally begin to live. You start to feel the breeze again, hear your own heartbeat, and notice life blooming from the most ordinary things. And from that moment on, your journey back to awareness begins. Let's go deeper and explore the Buddhist wisdom that helps us release anxiety and return to the present. 1. Peace is a practice, not a destination. Once you realize you don't have to control everything to be at peace, a new doorway opens the doorway to inner training. Because peace isn't a place you arrive at. It's a practice you walk day by day. We often think that peace will come when life is no longer messy, when everything falls into place, and our minds are finally free from worry. But take a closer look. Has life ever really stopped changing? One wave follows another one. Storm comes after the next. If you keep waiting for calm to arrive before you can feel peace, you may spend your whole life just waiting. In Buddhism, peace isn't seen as a prize you win after enduring suffering. It's something to be cultivated, a habit of the heart, a choice you return to again and again, especially in the moments when you feel most shaken. Peace doesn't come from outside of you. It doesn't depend on how nicely people treat you, or how smoothly things go, or how full your bank account is. It comes from how you meet your own mind in any situation. When someone says something hurtful, can you choose to return to your breath instead of reacting? When a plan falls apart, can you choose surrender instead of resistance? When fear rises up, can you sit with it gently instead of running away? Peace is when you stop saying, "I'll be okay," and begin saying, "I can be okay right now." It's like a garden. If you just plant a few seeds and walk away hoping for sunshine and rain at the right time, chances are weeds will take over. But if you return each day, water it with awareness, pull out the distractions, tend to the soil, that garden will slowly, quietly thrive. Your heart works the same way. Peace isn't an accident. It's the result of deep care. And yes, there will be days when peace feels out of reach. Some mornings, you'll wake up with heaviness in your chest. Even after learning to breathe and let go, some moments will still sting. But on those days, you don't need to force calm. Buddhism doesn't ask you to be perfect. You just need to remember your way back. To remember that you felt peace before and you can return to it again. You don't have to be peaceful every minute to live a peaceful life. You just have to keep returning each time you drift away. And with every return, you're forming a new habit of the heart. That's why, in meditation, the goal isn't to stop thinking. It's simply to notice when the mind has wandered and gently, with a smile, return to the breath. That's it. Notice, return, repeat. No judgment, no rushing, no pressure. Do you see now? Peace isn't a race. It's a gentle rhythm, a quiet dance you can carry even in the middle of life's noise. You can be working, raising kids, handling responsibilities, and still find small islands of stillness in your day. A warm cup of tea, a long exhale, a slow walk at sunset. All of that is peace. And the more you practice, the more magical it becomes. When your heart is at peace, you no longer need things to go your way. You're not thrown off by praise or criticism. You don't react hastily when life surprises you. You no longer wait for the world to calm down, just so your mind can feel okay. You become someone who knows how to come home. Not someone who seeks peace, but someone who lives in it. Not someone who waits for the wind to settle, but someone who learns how to keep the lamp lit even in the storm. And slowly, gently, you begin to understand this peace isn't the reward at the end of the path. It's how you walk through all of it. It's a journey, a choice, a way of living. And it's something you can begin right now. 2. You are not your worries. You are the one who observes peace isn't something you reach and then it stays. It's a daily practice. But even when you're sitting still, breathing deeply, there will be moments when worry sweeps in like the wind. So what keeps you from being swept away? It's the simple but powerful realization. You are not your worries. You are the one observing them. Most people spend their whole lives tangled up in their thoughts. I'm anxious, so I must be broken. I'm scared, so I must be weak. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us otherwise. This is where mindfulness and non-identification come in, learning to step back and just watch the thought rather than becoming it. When anxiety arises, you don't have to grab onto it. You can gently breathe and say, "There's that familiar worry again." Then, like a passing cloud, let it drift across the sky of your mind. Imagine your mind as a stage. Each thought that enters is just a performer playing a role, the one who fears failure, the one who isn't good enough, the one who needs to please everyone. But you are not the character. You're the one in the audience watching it all unfold. You don't need to jump on stage and argue with every actor. You just need to stay seated in your awareness. And from that seat of awareness, all those roles start to lose their power. Many people believe that awakening means having no thoughts, but that's not true. Being awake doesn't mean your mind goes silent. It means you're no longer dragged around by every thought it creates. You can see worry arise and say, "That might happen, but I'll meet it with clarity." Or when your mind whispers, "You're not good enough," you can respond, "I hear the fear, but I don't have to live by it." This is where freedom begins, the moment you can recognize a thought without being consumed by it. In that space, between stimulus and reaction, peace is born. Like the stillness between a bell and its echo. It's invisible, but it holds all the wisdom. And the beautiful part, that space already lives within you. The challenge is, we rarely pause long enough to find it. When worry calls out, we rush toward it, like someone diving into the ocean without knowing how to swim. But if you just pause, take a mindful breath, and ask yourself, what am I really hearing right now? What am I choosing to believe? That very moment becomes a moment of awakening. You are no longer the victim of the mind. Worry itself isn't the enemy. It's a survival mechanism, like a loyal guard dog at your door. The real question is, are you letting the dog lead the way, or are you acknowledging its bark, then choosing your own direction? You can't stop the mind from creating thoughts, but you can choose how to respond. And that's the difference between a restless heart and a peaceful one. Worry might say, something terrible is going to happen. An unconscious person panics. A mindful person breathes and says, if it happens, I'll meet it with calm. See the shift. When you realize you are the sky, watching the clouds, not the clouds themselves, everything gets lighter. Even when worry knocks, you don't have to fight it. You simply observe it, accept it, and return to your breath. That's the deeper practice of meditation, not to erase all negative thoughts, but to stop becoming them. Worry loses its grip when you stop fighting it, and in that quiet surrender, clarity begins to rise. You don't need to become someone who never worries. You just need to become someone who observes worry with compassion, knowing it's just a passing wave, and you are the vast ocean beneath it. And every time you do that, you take one more quiet, steady, luminous step on the path of inner freedom. 3. Attachment is the root of worry. Once you begin to realize that you are not your worries, but the one observing them, a deeper question begins to arise. What truly feeds all these worries? According to the Buddha's teachings, the answer is clear: attachment. You worry because you're afraid of losing. You're afraid of losing because you're holding on. You're holding on because deep down, you believe you need that thing to be safe, to be happy, to feel complete. In Buddhism, attachment, known in Pali as upadana, is seen as the root of suffering. It's not just liking or caring about something. It's a kind of tight clinging to people, to identities, to outcomes, to circumstances. Have you ever had thoughts like these? If they leave me, I won't survive. If I fail at this job, I'm worthless. If I don't get what I want, my life is over. These thoughts are symptoms of attachment. When you believe that losing something will break you, that's when your peace becomes dependent on something fragile and ever-changing. And because everything in life does change, you end up living in a constant state of anxiety. You're not worried because the present moment is scary. You're worried because you're terrified of losing what you believe you must keep. Let's take love, for example. Loving someone is natural, but if that love turns into clinging, they must stay with me. They must love me the way I expect. Then you've already started to lose your peace. You begin to live in fear. What if they change? What if they stop loving me? Or maybe it's a job, a title, a public image. At first, those things bring joy. But over time, you begin to identify with them. You tie your self-worth to them. And then one small failure or bit of criticism makes your whole world shake. Attachment doesn't just create worry, it makes your heart fragile. Everything you cling to too tightly becomes a source of tension and fear. The Buddha never said that love causes suffering. He said identifying with the object of your love causes suffering. It's not love that hurts, it's the belief. Without this person, this thing, I can't be whole. Have you noticed, the more you grip, the more tension you feel. The more you try to hold on, the more exhausted your mind becomes. But if you let go even just a little, you'll start to feel space opening up inside you. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. Letting go means I can love without being owned by that love. I can give my best without needing a specific outcome to feel okay. Picture this. You're holding a butterfly in your hand. If you squeeze too tightly, you'll hurt it. If you open your hand completely, it may fly away. But if you hold it gently, with openness and care, you'll see its beauty without causing pain. Life is like that. Everything precious must be held with an open palm, not a clenched fist. And here's the miracle. When you let go, you don't lose. You gain. You gain peace. You gain inner space. You gain a kind of freedom no one can ever take from you. The Buddha didn't teach us to give up the world. He taught us to give up clinging to the world so we could live more deeply, more mindfully, and love more purely. Attachment turns love into a cage. But the right kind of letting go turns love into liberation. Worry cannot survive in a heart that's learning to let go. It only lives when you demand that life go your way. But when you open your hand and allow things to come and go as they are, you'll discover peace was never far away. You just placed it in the wrong hands. So ask yourself, what am I truly afraid to lose? What am I clinging to, believing I can't live without? The answer to those questions, that's the root of your worry. And once you see it, you have a choice to keep clinging or to slowly, gently release, to live in tension or to begin tasting freedom. 4. The more you resist worry, the stronger it becomes. We've already seen how the root of worry lies in attachment. The more tightly we hold on to something, the more we fear losing it. But there's something even more subtle. To understand how we relate to our worry actually determines how much power it has over us. Have you noticed? The more you try to push anxiety away, the louder it becomes. The harder you fight it, the more exhausted your mind feels. It's a paradox. Worry doesn't weaken when you resist it. It weakens when you stop feeding it with resistance. Most of us react instinctively to unpleasant emotions. When worry shows up, we try to push it away. When we feel uneasy, we reach for distractions. When fear arises, we want to run. But in Buddhism, healing doesn't come from avoiding feelings. It comes from sitting with them and being present. Imagine you're sitting in a quiet room looking out the window. A storm is rolling in. Wind rustles the trees. Rain taps against the roof. You can't stop the wind or silence the rain, but you can sit calmly, breathe gently, and watch it all like a guest passing by. That's how we approach worry. In practice, we sit still and let it move through. When you say, "I shouldn't be worried," you unknowingly start a war inside yourself. You turn worry into an enemy. And in that battle, you're both the attacker and the one being attacked. But if you shift your view, just breathe and say, "Oh, worry is here," then you're no longer its victim. You become the observer. The Buddha taught suffering doesn't come from what happens to us, but from how we react to it. And the strongest reaction is resistance. You've probably tried to forget something painful, only to find it return stronger. Like trying to push a ball underwater, the harder you press, the harder it pops back up. But if you loosen your grip and let it float, it will settle on its own. Worry works the same way. When you stop fighting it, you begin to see it clearly. And something beautiful happens. It loses its weight. Not because you fixed it, but because you stopped fueling it. Most of our worries are uninvited guests. Old emotions, unhealed memories, imagined fears. But since we never truly sit with them, they seem threatening. So we avoid them, and they keep chasing us. The middle way in Buddhism doesn't mean escaping your emotions or drowning in them. It means sitting with them in awareness long enough to see their true nature. That is wisdom, and that's where true freedom begins. In meditation, we don't control the mind. We simply notice what's there and allow it to transform naturally. Like lighting a lamp in a dark room. You don't have to chase away the darkness. Just let the light shine, and darkness disappears on its own. What you need is gentle presence, without judgment, without pressure. Try this the next time anxiety arises. Instead of reacting, just breathe and say, "This is a wave of worry. I don't have to fight it. I can breathe with it." Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Listen to the wind or the hum of the fan nearby. Come back to what's actually happening, not what's playing in your mind. In that moment, you're breaking free from emotional control. Many intelligent spiritual people still suffer deeply from anxiety, not because they lack wisdom, but because they believe they shouldn't feel this way. They think peace means never feeling anxious. But in Buddhism, peace means being at peace with anxiety without losing yourself in it. You don't need to defeat your worry. You just need to stop giving it reasons to grow. And every time you manage to observe, rather than react, you plant a seed of freedom in your heart. Over time, you'll realize anxiety was never the monster you thought it was. It's simply a wave passing through the stream of consciousness, and you no longer need to hold on to it. 5. Real life begins when you let go of worry. Real life doesn't begin when everything is perfect. It begins the moment you stop trying to control everything. Have you realized that yet? Most of us keep waiting for some future moment. When work is more stable, when health is better, when our relationships feel peaceful, when the pressure finally lifts. Then, and only then, we think we'll finally start living. But that moment, it never really comes. Because life keeps changing, and the mind keeps worrying. The truth is, you don't need to wait for anything. Because real life begins the moment you pause and stop chasing some imagined version of how life should be. Life only exists right now, and the present moment, it's so easily stolen by something invisible worry. Let me ask you this. How many days of your life have passed where you weren't really there? Have you ever sat next to someone you love, but your mind was racing somewhere else? Have you eaten a meal without tasting it because your thoughts were already in tomorrow? Or have you laid in bed at midnight exhausted, but your mind kept spinning, chasing a future that hasn't even arrived? In all those moments, you were alive, but not truly living. Your body was present, but your heart and mind were absent. Why? Because worry pulled you away, and beneath that worry was the need to control. You wanted things to go your way, to feel right, look right, unfold the way you imagined. So, somewhere inside you set a condition. I'll feel peace only when life cooperates with me. But life doesn't take orders. It moves to its own rhythm. And the more you try to control it, the more tired, anxious, and unsettled you become. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's wisdom in action. You're not letting go because you don't care. You're letting go because you understand. You can't control the river of life, but you can choose how you float in it. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a flowing river. You have two choices. One, keep fighting the current, exhausting yourself, trying to make the water move your way. Or two, release the tension, float with it, and feel what it's like to be held by life itself. When you let go of control, you start to hear your own breath again. You feel your heartbeat. You notice the little moments you used to miss. Life becomes deeper, not because anything outside changed, but because you showed up for it. That's the difference. You don't live fully after life becomes perfect. You live fully when you stop needing it to be. A person can still have chaos around them and feel peace within. They might still be working things out, but feel grounded and alive because they no longer live in their head. They live in their breath. As the Buddha taught, there is no path to peace. Peace is the path. In the same way, there is no condition for real life. There is only one quiet choice within. I no longer need life to be different. And suddenly, everything becomes clear. Can you see it? Everything you've been worrying about lives outside this moment. Worrying about the future. Worrying about the outcome. Worrying about what people will say. But life only happens right here. So, the very moment you slow down, breathe, and stop trying to steer everything, you've stepped into the true heart of life. A place that doesn't say I'll live when, but instead whispers, I am living now. That's the gift life is always offering. You just have to open your hand and stop gripping so tight. Stop gripping people. Stop gripping outcomes. Stop gripping your mind. Just breathe and be here. 6. Worry is an attempt to control the uncontrollable. We've explored many layers of anxiety, its roots, its nature, and the gentle art of letting it go. But if we look just one layer deeper, we'll find a more subtle truth. Worry is really an attempt to control what cannot be controlled. The mind, built to protect us, constantly seeks safety, stability, and predictability. So when we face uncertainty, unpredictability, or change, it panics. It starts whispering. Think harder. What if this goes wrong? What if they don't respond the way you want? What if something bad happens in the future? The mind races like a security guard, checking every door and window over and over again. And eventually, you start to believe, if I just think enough, worry enough, I'll prevent things from falling apart. But is that really true? Have you ever stayed up all night worrying, only to find the outcome didn't change at all? Have you ever imagined dozens of worst-case scenarios and then realized none of them ever happened? That's why the Buddha called anxiety the illusion of control. Worry doesn't shape your future. It only drains your present. In today's world, we often equate overthinking with being responsible. But overthinking without mindfulness is actually a symptom of insecurity. Imagine you're sitting in a boat in the middle of the ocean. The boat is floating. The waves are gentle. But your mind, it's in full panic mode. What if a storm comes? What if the water rises? So you start checking every plank tightening, every rope making backup plans. You think you're being proactive, but really you're being controlled by fear. Worry triggers reaction, but not clarity. It is awareness, not anxiety, that gives rise to wisdom. The Buddha didn't tell us to suppress worry. He taught us to understand the motivation behind it. And when you look closely, you'll often find this: you're worrying because you haven't yet accepted that some things, no matter how hard you try, are simply out of your control. That truth isn't always comfortable, but once you accept it, your heart feels lighter. You're no longer trying to carry what was never yours to carry. You can focus on what's truly yours: your actions, your presence, your mindset, and leave the rest to the flow of life. Worry arises when you try to solve the future with the emotions of the present. But the future is not in your hands. It's a web of conditions, most of which you cannot predict or control. So, what can you do? You can come back to the present. You can slow down your breath. You can ask yourself, right now, what is the one thing I need to do? And then do just that without being swept away by your imagination. Because when the mind is calm, your actions are wise. But when the mind is frantic, even the best plans can go astray. There's a beautiful line in the sutras: the one who knows what can be controlled and what cannot is already walking the path of liberation. You cannot control what others say. You cannot control outcomes. You cannot control the tides of life. But you can control how you show up. You can remain calm in chaos. You can choose mindful action over anxious reaction. And that right there is where true life begins. When you stop chasing certainty, you start embracing reality. When you stop gripping tightly, you begin flowing freely. Worry asks, what if? Awareness asks, what now? And right now, you are breathing. Right now, you still have the power to choose peace. Right now, even if the world is spinning, you can stand still inside yourself. And from that stillness, you will see clearly. The need to control was never necessary. What matters most is living fully in this moment. 7. Everything you fear is temporary by nature. Here's an important truth. Worry is the mind's attempt to control the uncontrollable. But even if you can't let go just yet, if you look just a little deeper, you'll see a door opening. A door called impermanence. Have you noticed? Every fear, every sadness, every pain eventually fades. No feeling stays forever. No situation remains the same. Even the things that once kept you awake at night, made you cry, or left you feeling broken, might now be nothing more than a distant memory. Why? Because the nature of life is change. As the Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. That means everything in this world, your emotions, your circumstances, the people around you, even your possessions, is constantly shifting moment by moment. You might be worried about something right now, but here's the truth. Even that worry is already dissolving. Emotions are like the weather. A storm may roll in and feel endless, but then one day, the sun rises and you forget how heavy the skies felt just yesterday. The mind works the same way. You might be hurting, anxious, overwhelmed, but then one morning you open your eyes and something feels lighter. You don't know why. It just does. And that's the quiet miracle of impermanence. The problem is, we tend to forget. When we're deep in emotional pain, it feels like it will never end. We say, "I'll never get through this." We think, "Maybe I'll feel like this forever." But pause for a moment and look back. How many times in your life have you said something like that, only to eventually move on, heal, and grow stronger? How many times have you thought you couldn't survive something, and yet you're still here? That means you've already made it through what once felt impossible. And if you've done it before, you can do it again. All you have to remember is this too shall pass. Some people feel afraid when they hear about impermanence. They think it means loss. But in truth, impermanence is what makes healing possible. Without change, pain would never soften. Sad memories would stay stuck. We'd be trapped in one emotional state with no way out. Because things change, whatever you fear right now is already transforming. And what scares you today might become the most powerful lesson of your life tomorrow. Have you ever gone through something that broke you, but later you silently felt grateful for it? Not because you enjoyed the pain, but because it helped you grow, deepened. Your understanding made you wiser. The Buddha said, "In impermanence, there is a chance for transformation, in change a chance to awaken." When you understand this, you no longer get completely swept away by your emotions. You can still feel sadness, worry, fear, but you know it's just a season. It's like standing in the rain. You don't pretend you're not wet, but you say to yourself, "The rain won't last forever." And in that simple reminder, the despair softens. You gain distance from your anxiety. You're no longer drowning in it. And in that space, peace begins to return. There's a beautiful saying, "Don't let a temporary feeling make you doubt a lasting truth." The lasting truth is, you have the power to heal. You are not your pain. Life is always changing, and so are you. So place your hand on your heart and slowly say, "This too shall pass." Then exhale. Sometimes that one breath is all you need to stay steady in the middle of the storm. 8. The present moment is the refuge, not the future. There's a common misunderstanding many of us carry, that peace will come once the future is stable. We tell ourselves, just a little more. Next week, once things are settled, I'll finally breathe easy. But here's the truth. The future doesn't promise anything. And if you keep waiting for the outside world to be perfect before you allow yourself peace, you might be waiting your entire life. Peace isn't ahead of you. It's right here in the moment you're living. There's no such thing as a peaceful tomorrow. Only a today where you choose to pause. It's not about a flawless future. It's about this moment. So many people live in postponement. They say, "Let me finish this first, then I'll rest. Once I have the house, the money, the time, then I'll feel calm. Once life is stable, I'll come back to myself." But life is never perfectly stable. And the mind, it keeps running from morning to night, from one worry to the next. Sound familiar? It's like being on a train staring out the window. But your mind has already run to the front of the train, trying to predict the next stop, hoping that maybe, just maybe, that stop will finally feel peaceful. Let me ask you something. Have you ever truly sat still in the present without thinking about what's next? In Buddhism, mindfulness teaches us this simple, powerful truth. The only safe place to rest isn't when things go right. It's when you stop and breathe. Just breathe. Be aware that you're breathing. Feel your body right now. Your feet touching the floor. The breeze through the window. The sound of leaves rustling. That's you coming home. You don't need to finish all your tasks first. You don't need a clear future to feel peace. Because peace is not found in what's next. It's found right here, right now. You might be in a noisy city, a messy room, or a tough chapter in life. But if you close your eyes and return to your breath, peace is already there. The Buddha said, "Life is found in the present moment." The past is gone, the future hasn't come. Those who live in the present live with awareness. The human mind always searches for stability in things that are never certain. It thinks, if I plan enough control, maybe tomorrow will feel safe. But the truth is, no one holds tomorrow in their hands. You can have plans, but life doesn't always follow your script. So the wisest thing isn't to chase after peace in the future. It's to plant your peace firmly in this very moment. Think about it. When you're stressed about what's coming, doesn't your body feel tense? Your neck stiffens, your chest tightens, your breath shortens. That's your body telling you you've left the present moment. You've left the only place you can truly rest. But how do you come back? You don't need a complicated method. Just breathe. Try it now. Breathe in gently, knowing you are breathing in. Breathe out slowly, knowing you are breathing out. No pressure, no performance, just awareness. Even one mindful breath like this can bring you out of the storm, because when you are fully present, the future no longer controls you. You're not being dragged through life, you're living it. There's a beautiful image in meditation. The present moment is like an island of safety in the middle of a vast sea. Storms may rage beyond it, but here you can anchor. Here, there is no someday, no what, if no when. There is only you, sitting still, breathing and being. And that is the most precious gift you can offer to yourself and to life. Dear friend, life will always have things outside your control. But peace has never been outside your awareness. It's not a reward waiting at the end of exhaustion. It's a state you can return to anytime with just one mindful breath. You don't need to wait for life to calm down to begin living. You only need to show up fully for this moment, because this is where real life begins. If today's reflection touched something within you, I invite you to walk this mindful path with us. Subscribe to Buddhism Seeds for more gentle reminders to come home to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a soft place to land, and tell us in the comments what part of today's video reminded you to come back to yourself.